Hey everyone, Chris here with another episode of A Father's Love Healing Through Heartache. As usual, our goal is to help dads out whenever they're going through grief and loss. And this week we have a great guest with us, Roger Alloco, and he's going to be joining us today to tell his story about his son. Before that, though, Dan, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good. Go Bills. We know we're in the playoffs, so we'll see. We'll see what happens over the next few weeks.
Yes, got to keep pushing, right? So, but like we normally do when we have guests on, we want to throw the story right to them right away. So with that, Roger, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story about your son. And we're going to throw it to you to tell your story however you want.
All right, thank you, Chris and Dan. Well, I'd like to start out. My son's name was Dalton Kenneth Alloco, and he was born December 10th, 1993, and he passed away on December 12th, 2021. So he was 28 years old. But just a brief rundown of what his life was like in a nutshell. We were really close. He had two sisters and me and his mother, and we lived in the country, and he was a real good athlete in sports. He was a high honor roll student, top athlete in 3 different sports, and he really, he had a good childhood. And me and his mother split up when he was probably around 12, and he stayed with me for a few years after that. And, well, honestly, I grounded him from his cell phone, and he got mad at me and went to his mother's, and that's where he started on a road. He started on a bad path of drugs and alcohol, and it was a rough road for him. I did everything I could possibly do through the system, through family court, through the schools. Personally, I did everything I could, but I didn't really have all the support that I should have on the other side. But so he was enabled to live that lifestyle, and he just progressively got worse with the drugs and alcohol. And when he was 18 or 19 years old, he was out on one of his little binges around town or whatever. He was not home, but he was local. And he was with his girlfriend, and she got hit by a train. And she was killed right by his side, and she basically was all over him, you know what I mean? And from that on, it was rough going. He had PTSD, and he progressively got worse. And I continued. Now he's a young adult, and I still continued to help him out like every chance I could, and be his dad and make the tough decisions. And I've even went as far as to have him put through the legal system, hoping that would scare him straight. But whatever, he made his own path, and he was going to go to college, and he started out. He got all these loans and grants and all this stuff that they give out, and he basically that was a big. I give you all this money, and you have problems with addictions. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? So that's where that all led, and he began living a life of like he overdosed a few times, and even when he was a little younger there, but whatever, it's hard to go so far back, so I'm just going to kind of skip ahead. But so he started this life of kind of like a homeless life where he would travel around. I'm talking across the country with nothing but a backpack and nothing. Maybe a prepaid cell phone, maybe, but he didn't, no money, no monetary credit cards, no, you know what I mean? And he would just go, and he would just survive. He would go, and like he'd go all the way to Colorado, he'd go to Utah, he'd go to Wyoming, he'd just go and he would come, and he would hit rock bottoms along the way, and he would hit rough times, and I'd bring him home, and I had him in and out of rehab and stuff like that. He never could handle it. He always got out. He always wanted out, and he never really followed through. He wanted help, but he was afraid of the reality of life, I guess. He couldn't sleep. He was insomniac, and that drives you nuts. Like his mind never stopped. And he was a really good kid, though. So, anyways, that went on from the time he graduated high school, which was like when he was 18 years old, until he passed away in 2021. And like I said, he would go and come back and go and come back. And several times, I would bring him back or get him to go to my sister's in Florida or whatever we could do to try to help him, And it just wasn't a cycle. And when he would come home, he was a great worker. He would get a job and he'd do really good for like 2 or 3 months. And he'd be the best worker they had. They all loved him. They wanted to promote him. Everything he ever did, he was just so good at, but he would fall back into that pattern and get all antsy and want to escape again. And that's what he did. Well, I'm going to go up to this last time, and he wanted to get help. I had brought him home here, and I told him, he needed a place to go and everything. And he was in a hospital in Rochester, and he hit rock bottom there. He was in the detox. He was detoxing. And when he got out of there, I brought him home here under the conditions that you're not going to live your lifestyle here. I'm not going to enable you to live your lifestyle here. I would still let him have a couple beers or whatever, but he wasn't going to do no hard drugs or get all drunked up or anything like that here. That's not how I am. I'm not enabling him to kill himself, So we made a deal that you can stay here, and have a place here always. But if you're going to go back to that, then you have to leave. And he called me up one night. We were doing good together. He called me up one night. And he said, "Dad, he didn't come home. He called the next day. He actually called my daughter. And he said that he was out drinking and drugging all night. And, he wasn't going to be able to come home. And he called me. And I said, all right, son, I said, you need to come home and get your stuff then, and, we had a deal, and I held him to it because I wanted him to get help. I didn't want to just let him go. You know what I mean? But it was really hard for me to do. And he went out there, and I don't know, it's hard to put the timeline together, but eventually he ended up asking his sister to take him. She got him into a rehab in Clifton Springs, and he wanted to transfer out of there, and he wanted to get closer to home, so he transferred to Hornell somewhere, and then he didn't want to stay there either. So he just had gotten a job. I know this is kind of rambling, but it's so hard to. Before the rehab, I helped him get a car, and he had a job, and he was doing really good at the job and everything, and then till he wasn't. And then he ended up in those rehabs, and he left, but he still had a car. So my daughter Cassidy did everything she could to help him also, and his mother was out of the picture. That really, she really wasn't there for him. That's neither here nor there, but it bothered him, it really hurt him. But so after he left the rehab, and me and my daughter brought him his car and went and picked him up and brought him his car, and he got in his car and I got out of my, I hugged him goodbye and, I just hugged him and told him I loved him. And really, that was the last time I ever saw him. And then he went to his sister's for a few days. And after that, he wanted to leave. And he was going to go out west. He liked it out west. And only this time he had a car. The other times he never had a car. So he made it as far as, I'm going to say maybe Kansas. And he lost his keys and whatever. And a locksmith called me and I paid a bunch of money for him to get a new ignition and all that. He just continued on his route. I didn't hear from him. None of us hear from him. Now I find out as I'm piecing things together from getting bills from these different places and stuff from medical centers and stuff that he got in a car accident in Colorado and he must have totaled his car. He didn't have a car anymore. So now he's just traveling around like he used to. And I didn't hear anything from him for the longest time, None of us did. Excuse me. And then I got a call from it was the last time I ever spoke to him was August 15th from a detox center in Cheyenne, Wyoming. They called me and they said, "Are you Roger Alloco?" I said, "Yes." And they said, "Your son Dalton is here." And they told me he was in there detoxing. And this is after several over his life overdoses and seizures and where he bit his tongue off and from not having enough alcohol or too much alcohol or whatever. He was in other drugs too, So anyways, they called me and they said, "Dalton's here in detox and, he wants to come home." And I'm like, we want to put him on the other line. It was a 3-way call with me, the social worker, and the doctor. And I'm like, okay. So he got on the other line and I'm like, "Hey, son, it's the first time I talked to him in a long time." And he's like, "Hey, Dad, I could tell he sounded down and, they said he wanted to come home." And I said, "Dalton, if you want to come home and get help," I said, "if you want to get help, I'll bring you home now. You know what I mean? I'll fly you home. I'll get you a ticket." He's like, "Okay, Dad." And then I hung up the phone and I was in the process of looking up tickets from Wyoming. And they called me back and they said that he doesn't want to come home. He doesn't want help. And so that little conversation before about coming home was the last time I ever heard his voice. And so I'm like, okay, well, there was nothing I could do at that point. So I wrote a text that said, I said, "Hey, Dalton, it's Dad. Call me right away." Because I still wanted to bring him home because I had something in the works with something called a life coach where she'd been an addict before and now she's trying to help other addicts. It wasn't where he gets institutionalized in a rehab or something, but she was going to be a life coach and help him try to get through, so I was going to try to go that route. Well, I sent him that email. He still had, not an email, a text. He still had a phone at that point. And for whatever reason, I don't know, I didn't even know, but I didn't push send. Have you ever done that where you send somebody something, but you just forget to push the send? So I didn't push send and I never heard back from him. And I didn't know I didn't push send until a long time after, and I never heard back from him. And then when I looked, I'm like, oh my gosh, I never sent it, So, by then he had, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he wasn't answering his phone or if he had no phone or what. So now it was just missing and I didn't have any idea where he was. So I started a missing person report. I called the police around here and I did a missing person report, the state troopers. And then I went to the computer and I had some people help me because I'm not real computer smart. So I had his pictures and his description and my number and his contact where they could call me. And I searched for him. It's all over Colorado and all out west. And I searched for him for a long, long time, from August 15th until December 19th. I finally found out he was deceased in California. But all that time, I didn't hear nothing, and I kept looking and kept searching and kept the things out, and then the posters out and stuff. And then one night I was just home here at like 10:30 at night on December 19th. And I got a call from the Alameda County coroner's office. And the guy kind of spoke broken English or whatever. And he's like, we're the Alameda County coroner's office. He talked real fast and he said, are you Roger Alloco? And I'm like, yes, I am. And he goes, I'm just calling to tell you that your son Dalton is dead. And that's how he said it, And I'm like, what? I'm like, I was in shock, I couldn't believe it. I knew it was going to happen, but my biggest fear was that he was always going to come in as a John Doe because he would lose his wallet all the time. We talked about it, and I said, always, son, keep my name and number in your wallet. No matter what you do, no matter where life takes you, you keep your identification on you. And I guess he did because they didn't know who he was because he came in December 12th. But they saw my missing person on the computer. And that's how they found me. And that's how they called me. And then they identified him by his tattoos and everything that was written there. And, excuse me. And so that was, a week after he died already, So I had to go down and tell his sisters and all of that. And then now it was time, like, I had to make arrangements. I mean, he's in California, and I had to make arrangements, and he was going to get cremated out there because he came in as a John Doe. And I made an arrangements with a funeral home. They did a autopsy and a toxicology report, and I asked that deputy who's in charge, I got the officer's name who reported to his scene. He died in a parking garage in Oakland, California. And basically what I know about it is he went into a parking garage with a few other people and they all sat down and they were smoking something. And he just keeled over. And the more I learn, the more I'm learning now that they just left him. They deserted him there. They didn't help him. And from that, I tried to get his belongings home. I know he had a backpack, and I know certain things he always had, And they screwed it up. They didn't care about him because he was a John Doe, and they thought nobody cared. He was just a kid in the street. They just didn't treat him like he was anybody. But he wasn't John Doe. He was Dalton Kenneth Alloco. He was my son, and he mattered. He mattered to a lot of us. And he was my whole heart, you guys. So, I paid whatever they wanted to get his belongings back. And all that came back was a little box, a waterproof box that my daughter had gotten him, where he kept a few things in there on the road so they wouldn't get wet. He had a little headlamp, no wallet, no identification. He had a headlamp. He had a library card from Denver, Colorado. He had a marker and a few phone numbers. and that's all. That's all. I got no clothes. Didn't get his backpack. I didn't get nothing. So they threw it all away. They all gave me excuses all the way along the line, but I never got any of it back. But this penny right here on this necklace, this was his chain that I had. That I got him when he was 16. But this penny was the only thing that came back. He had one penny. So I had gone to like a psychic medium, and she knew all about the penny and everything. And he came through and he said, "Dad, don't ever let that penny go. Don't ever let that penny go, Dad." You know what I mean? And I had it made into something to put on his chain, and that's what that penny is. But you know, some people see 50 cent coming. Well, here comes old 1 cent now. You know, I guess that's me. So, anyways, after that, I went through a funeral home here and made the arrangements to get him transferred from one funeral home to the other. And we started the process of the funeral. And my daughter Cassie is about to be 24 in a week or two here, and my daughter Helen is 27. And I really struggle, and you know, and they helped me. You know, they went through pictures and they put together picture boards and all this stuff of his life, and you know, helped me plan the funeral. And he died on his birthday was 12/10/93, and he died on 12/12/21. Okay, and there's just so much coincidental here. And his funeral was 2/22/22. You know, it's like everything seems to happen in those number sequences for whatever reason. Well, I was having a really tough time of everything. I'm a school bus driver. I work at a school, 2 jobs, a BOCES school bus driver all day, and then I go to a regular school and bus like kindergartners to seniors in the morning, go do my other job, and then go pick them up, take them home, their homes at night. And I love it. You know, I love the kids. I love my job. I feel like I don't make any money, but I love my job. You know what I mean? And I do contributing to those kids, and a lot of them have rough lives. But anyways, I have an 86-year-old cousin in Florida, and she's like, "You need to get away." I had a break coming up from school, and she said, "I'm sending you an airline ticket, and you're going to come down here, you know, for a week." And I'm like, okay, you know, so she sent me the ticket, and there was this lady at work who has like psychic abilities, but she sees things, but she's just a cleaner. You know, she doesn't do that. And my son kept coming to her, and my son told her, you know, "Tell my dad I want him to spread some of my ashes in the ocean." And I'm like, "Really, Lucy?" I said, "I'm leaving for Florida in 4 days." You know, so I thought I could just go into the beach, into the ocean a little bit, as far as I can swim, and spread some of his ashes. Well, that night, my cousin calls me, and she's 86 years old. She's the coolest lady. And she called me and she goes, "Raj, I just want you to know I scheduled you for a deep sea fishing tour for Tuesday." I said, "What?" She goes, she didn't know nothing about me bringing ashes or nothing. You know, and she said, "I scheduled for deep sea." I'm like, "That's awesome. That's cool." You know what I mean? So I told 4 people here. I said, "You know, I wouldn't be surprised if after I spread Dalton's ashes, if he doesn't put a big old shark on my line or something." Right? He had gone to Florida before and just went on like one of them boats where there's people lined up fishing, and he caught a little shark, but it got off, and he was seasick really bad. You know, but so I told 4 people that. Now it's time for my trip. This is getting to the miraculous part. I went to my trip, and I went out on that boat. No, I was as sick as you could be. I mean, I was so seasick. I couldn't even move. My cousin's like, he's 80 years old, and my other cousin, she's 70 something, and they're out on the boat with me. The one that brought me there is her older sister, but we're way out there, and I was seasick all morning. And my cousin's like, just pick a spot in the corner of the boat, just look at that corner. Don't look at the waves. Don't look at the land. We had 4 to 6 foot seas. And off the corner of that boat was a rainbow. Everything happened off the corner of that boat. It was a rainbow across the water, the whole 4 hours that I was watching it. It was the diesel fuel making it, but for whatever reason, it was a rainbow. You know what I mean? And nobody caught nothing, no bites, no nothing. Our lines were out, our kites were out, all that all morning. We were fishing for like marlin or small tuna or something like that. And my girl cousin, she said, Roger, when are you going to spread Dalton's ashes? And I said, sick. I'm like, she's sick too. I said, I guess this is as good a place as any. Maybe it'll turn our luck around. So then my other cousin, he's 80 and he can't hear nothing. He didn't hear her. He gets on my other shoulder and he goes, Roger, I think this is a good spot to spread Dalton's ashes. Maybe it'll turn our luck around. Same thing I just said. So I'm like, okay, Tony. So I literally crawled to the back of the boat because I was so sick. I'm on my hands and knees and I crawled to that back. Everything happened in that back corner for some reason. I literally crawled to the back of the boat, and the captain, he knew what we were going to do, and there was a first mate on the boat that looked just like my son. Same color hair, same height, same length hair, just so many, same age. And the captain had been a captain for 35 years. So it came time to spread the ashes, and we all got together and said a prayer, and I knew my son wanted me to do that. And when it came time, I couldn't open the container. You know what I mean? I just couldn't let him go. I felt like, I know he wasn't in there, but it represent him. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can't do this, And my cousin's like, yeah. He put his hands on my shoulders and he's like, his name is Tony. He goes, yeah, you can do this, Rod. This is what your son wanted. You have to do it. You have to let him be free. See, by going in the ocean, he gets to go all those places that he ever wanted to be. There is no limit. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay. So I'm at the back corner and I'm tapping his ashes out. There's 4 to 6 foot seas and the waves are coming up and the wind is taking his ash and they're floating down into the water. And all of a sudden, when I tapped the last ash out, it went down to 1 to 2 foot seas, and the captain goes, on my last tap, shark on! Within 3 seconds, an 8.5 foot, 400-pound hammerhead shark hit on a 25-pound test line. The smallest line we had out, And I don't know how to fish. I'm a hunter. You know what I mean? I don't know much. I could catch a bass in a pond or whatever, but I don't know much about it. So I reeling in the shark, and one time I hit the drag, and it went way out. And, they're all go down and reeling up, and I'm like getting all confused. I'm all emotional, and that shark should have got off 100 times. It went on for an hour and a half. When I got him to the boat one time, he saw me, and he dove straight down like 200 feet. This is like a miracle that this shark represented my son. I'm sure of it, He dove like 200 feet depth, and there was a styrofoam bobber on the thing, and it was brand new, fluorescent pink. Well, when you go down that deep, there's pressure, and that bobber collapsed, and all the paint came off. You know what I mean? Most of the paint came off, and it was all deformed when it came back up. So he came back up. The fight went on for a while more. Long story short, I caught that 101-inch hammerhead 400-pound fish, and I had him mounted, and he's on the wall right over here right now. And so that was 2/22/22 that I caught the shark. And after that, oh no, that was the funeral. The funeral was 1/22/22. I caught the shark on 2/22/22. Exactly 1 month with all the same numbers. You know what I mean? And then I come home, and I said at his funeral that I lost 3 brothers and a lot of people, and I'm like, I'm going to have a celebration of life party for my son and my brothers and the people that we lost. And so we planned that this summer over the time, and in July this past July we had the celebration of life party, and it was a good success. A lot of people came and celebrated their lives, and ever since then I've been struggling really bad. I keep thinking he's going to walk through the door because I never saw him. You know what I mean? And I talked to the detective on the case down there, and I said, he's got videotape of this from the parking garage. And I said, can you send me the video? I want to see, you know what I mean? I want to see, make sure, you know what I mean? And he's like, no, department policy. He's just giving me excuses. Department policy, if you want to come here and watch it. Well, he don't think I will, but I've already got a private plane arranged to take me. But I know my son went away to die. I know he didn't want me to see him die. So if I go see that video, I'm going against his wishes. And I don't know if the police will really let me see the video. I think they're bluffing me because my son comes through this psychic and said there was foul play, Dad, and they closed the case, and they don't care. They don't care. They're never gonna do nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like a double-edged sword for me. I can go if I want, but I haven't been doing very good, and that might be the last straw for me. I don't know if I can handle watching him pass. And since then, the holidays, these were the first holidays this year and stuff, I've been having every day is a rough day, but the holidays were like I don't want to be around people, and my whole life is different. I mean, I still go to work. It's hard. Everything's just hard now. I still go to work every day, and I don't let those kids down ever. And, but the holidays came, and I didn't do anything for Thanksgiving. I hunted. I could have gone to some family. My sister invited me and stuff, but I just didn't want to. And people don't really understand. I just like being alone now. But Christmas was coming up, and his birthday. See, there was Thanksgiving. My brother, Cork, who passed away, his birthday was November 19th. And then there was and he was my younger brother. Then there was Thanksgiving, and my brother Barry died on Thanksgiving in 2012. Cork was 2014. And then my son Dalton's birthday was December 10th. And then he died December 12th. And I found out December 19th. So there was all these milestones, if you will, or whatever you call them. And then here comes Christmas, and I'm like, meanwhile, I gotta go back just a bit. I had to do something about, I wanted people to have his sisters and everybody have a place to go where he was, so my mother and my father and my brothers and my grandma and grandpa, they're all in a cemetery in Rochester, Riverside Cemetery. And on the back of my mother and father's and stone and my brother's stone, I used for Dalton. And there's a nice picture of him there. And I had a giant hammerhead shark, all engraved into the stone. And it says his name and date. It's just a beautiful memorial. And I go there every year and put wreaths on the graves and everything. And I go there all the time to see him. And my daughter does too. Both my daughters do. But my one daughter goes with me all the time and stuff. But we put the wreaths out and all that. Now it's Christmas time. I put the wreaths out before Thanksgiving, for the holidays. But it's Christmas time, and what am I going to do for Christmas? Another, right after his birthday, and his death date was the 19th. So I'm like, you know what? I want to give back, so I decided I was going to go through all my stuff, and I have a lot of hunting clothes, like $600 hunting suits and stuff like that, over the years. You don't wear it all, but I still save everything. So I lost Chris.
Yeah, Chris is babysitting, so he'll be right back.
Okay, so anyways, I decided I was gonna put a bunch of stuff together, and I don't have a lot of money, but I got $100. I overdrafted. I got an overdraft credit, so I took $100 out in 20s, and I put all this stuff together and some hand warmers and all kinds of stuff that I thought the homeless people would need. I tried to volunteer at the shelter, but they were full for dinner, passing out dinner. But so me and my daughter went, and we passed out all this stuff, beautiful warm clothes and jackets, and to the homeless people, and gave each one of them $20 for a warm meal, or I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I told them, God bless you. I hope you can get a warm meal today. It felt really good. Well, this one guy, he was kind of like Dalton's age, and he was out there with a sign, and I had Dalton's coat, but I had given him this coat. It was fluorescent green. It was a rain jacket. It was really warm. He used to go out and read meters and stuff like during hunting season, like gas meters and stuff. And he's like, Dad, they're shooting at me. You know what I mean? They're shooting all around me. So I gave him this really warm, heavy-duty, fluorescent green construction jacket, and he loved it. Anyways, I gave this one guy my goose down vest and this coat, and I told him, I said, this was my son's jacket, and he passed away in the streets, and I really want you to have this. And he says, it means so much to me. It means the world to me, blah, blah, blah. And, we hugged, you know what I mean? He's like, can I hug you? I said, of course, you know what I mean? We hugged him, and I said, God bless you. I hope you do okay out here, and I hope that your luck turns around for you. So that was Christmas, and then we proceeded to give away everything. I had a carload of stuff. I told my daughter, you stay in the car, because we were in the hood. I mean, we went down to the worst of the worst places. That's where they are, you know what I mean? I said, I'm going to get out and take care of this. If anything happens, you drive away. Go call 911. But nothing happened. And we gave it all away, and we went to the cemetery, and it felt really good. I can feel my son. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times, like when I'm telling that shark story or talking about, or I can just feel him rushing me. I can just feel like from head to toe, I can feel like his spirit just rushing me. You know what I mean? It feels really good. And I was feeling that. So that felt so good that day. And then we decided that we wanted to keep doing it. So now we did a little better and got some backpacks, and different people helped. My girlfriend helped. She's a shopping fool, so she helped get backpacks and got hand warmers, filled the backpacks with. And then the nurse at school's got all these extra supplies and that were going to not be used: COVID tests, Band-Aids, ointment, all stuff alcohol pads to clean your hands and stuff like that. And we went and got soap, shampoo, beef jerky, nuts, blankets, warm hoodies and warm shirts, and we just filled these backpacks full of love. You know what I mean? Tuna salad, stuff they can eat, and like a dozen packs of hand warmers in each one. They all had the same thing in every pack. You know, we just went and picked these people, the neediest looking people, and we handed them out, and we give them $20. You know, just like the last time there. And people were so appreciative, and it felt so good to give and just to give back, you know what I mean? And just to hug those people and whatever. And we went to the cemetery again. And that's basically it. Here I am today and struggling, you know, each day. Even though I know he's good, he's better than he ever has been. And I wouldn't bring him back. I would leave him there. You know, but I can't explain it. You know what I mean? I struggle so bad with it, you know. So that's my story, guys. And I'm hoping that story inspires people. You know, that whole shark story inspires people that there is something, you know, after they're gone. And I've gotten confirmation from those psychic, not only from my son. I mean, he comes to me in all different ways. One day, like I got that lure hanging out of my shark's mouth, the string, the actual string with that bobber on the end, and 2 sinkers, and it hangs straight as an arrow. I could show you. And me and my daughter, he was real close with her. We're here getting ready. She hunts with me. It was like 5:30 in the morning. We're both in the living room, and the coal stove's going. All of a sudden, that lure starts going, swinging back and forth, that bobber. You know what I mean? And I felt him rush right over me, you know, and we both knew instantly it was Dalton. So there's this place called Artful Ashes, and you can send some of your loved ones' ashes in, and they make an orb. It's like an orb, and you can pick different styles or whatever, but he liked green and purple. And anyways, they take your loved one's ashes and they mix them all in this glass orb, and you can see them all sparkling there. That's all his bones and ashes and particles, you know what I mean? And it goes on a lighted base, and when you light it up, it just shines. And it lights up, and you can see him inside of there, you know? And then whatever ashes they have left, they have this ceremony, and they take him out on a boat in Washington, and he loved Washington. Probably because it was a legal weed state at the time. And, you know, he thought he could get a job doing that, trimming and all that stuff. But he loved the country. He loved Washington. He loved Colorado, the mountains. This kid could survive with nothing. I mean, he could cook fish on a hot rock. You know what I mean? And, you know, there were times when he panhandled his way across the country. And there were times when he had to eat out of a dumpster and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, I feel like if I would have brought him home when he called me from Cheyenne, Wyoming on August 15th, without conditions, you know, if I would have brought him home without conditions, or if I would have just sent that text, you know, things might be different today. And, you know, he might still be here. But he keeps telling me through all different ways that, no, this was his destiny. This is what was meant to happen. You know what I mean? And he didn't want me to see him die. That's why I'm all conflicted about going to California. So that's pretty much it, you guys. Just now, here I am. A year and 5 weeks later, after a year, a month, and a month and a week. That's 5 weeks. So that's it. One more thing, though. I want to write a book about Dalton's life and about his struggles and about all of it. You know what I mean? And I have wanted to write a book since the day one. And it's just going to be called Lost. And then on the bottom of the page, it's going to say My Boy. and then maybe a black cover with like maybe a hammerhead shark like swimming across the cover or something. But I'm not the most literate. I mean, I can read and write good and do basic math, but I don't know how I would ever pull off a book. But that's my plan. So that's it. If you guys have any questions.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, well, Dalton, Roger, I don't know that I really have any questions more than 45 minutes ago when you logged into this. You told Chris and I, you're going to have to ask me a lot of questions because I just don't know what I'm going to say. And for 45 minutes, you just poured your heart out. And you said so many things that I think will encourage people, grieving parents, but just regular people too, that will just give them encouragement, and that when you lose a child, we're all looking for something to grasp onto. Just to get, we've talked about it many times, just to help us take that next step. And you just talked about so many different things that they're painful and hard, but they're next steps that you can take. And I just, what a beautiful story. What a beautiful story. I guess the one question I want to ask right now, the cousin that bought you the fishing trip, what do you think of her? Have your opinions of her changed at all, or how grateful to her are you for giving you that trip? Because Chris and I have talked numerous times about what can people do who are around us do to help grieving people. And we know it's hard to talk about our kid. You're afraid of upsetting us, so you don't say anything. We've talked about the question or the statement, if there's anything I can do to help, let me know, and how useless that statement is. Where, if I understood it right, your cousin, she didn't ask you to buy you a ticket. She just said, hey, I'm doing it.
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say I couldn't be more grateful. That whole shark experience, the whole confirmation that he has given me of making it to the other side time and time again, not just the shark, but several different ways, has kept me from being gone already, because it was more than I could bear until I knew that he was doing better. You know, I mean, I'm still struggling, but I'm still here fighting. You know, I would never do that to my daughters and the people that love me. I don't want to put them through it. But my cousin, she sent me the ticket, and I guess it changed everything. And my other cousin, Tony, he bought the fishing trip. And between all of them, you know, they just reached out to help me out. And they didn't know anything about spreading the ashes or none of that. This was all just fate coming into play here. And I couldn't be more, I'm eternally grateful. I mean, I loved them before. I always loved them, you know what I mean? But I am so eternally grateful for what they did for me. They saved my life. In return, you know, they might have saved my daughter's life and the rest of my family and other people that would have gone through if I took my own life. And it was definitely a viable option. I mean, my dad died when I was 7, and I lost everybody ever since. My 3 of my brothers, my best friends, my grandparents, my mother. And, you know, that was always kind of an option in my head. You know what I mean? But then I had my son. And then that's not an option anymore. Now I have a purpose in my life. You know what I mean? And it's my responsibility to be there for my son and my daughters. that's the way it was. And when my son, but I'm eternally grateful to my cousins for what they did for me. Matter of fact, I was just talking to her last night on the phone, and I'm trying to. February break is coming up again, and I'm trying to get down there to see them. But one other thing I want to say is, while my son was alive and going through that life of drugs and alcohol and all the things that he went through, I didn't know anything about any of that. I didn't have any knowledge of any of that. You know, and there was this book that someone told me about. It was called The Beautiful Boy. It's called The Beautiful Boy. And the author's name was, well, there was the author, and he told the story of a drug addict through a father's point of view. And the son wrote a book called Tweaked. Tweaked, Tweaked. And he wrote it from the drug addict's point of view. And I read both of those books. Nick Sheff was one of the authors, and I'm not sure if that was the father or the son, but Nick might have been the boy. But those two books gave me the knowledge to understand the steps I needed to take to try to help my son, which I did everything as a father. And then it gave me the understanding of what my son was thinking as the addict and as the one causing pain and doing, you know what I mean? The pain they cause, because they're good kids. They're good people. They have good hearts. They're just addicted. They're sick. It's sick. It starts out as a choice, but it quickly becomes an addiction. And that's what people don't mix those things up. You know what I mean? It's no longer a choice for him. You know what I mean? It becomes an addiction and a way of life, and he has to have these things. They become their coping mechanisms, and they don't know how to live any other way without him. Even though he had a supportive family and, you know, he had home, everything, but he was sick. You know, he was sick. And the drug addiction and the alcoholism, it all leads to mental illness, and he was sick in so many different ways. But inside, he was still my beautiful boy. You know, he wasn't John Doe. It really bothered me that he was just a John Doe to them, you know, but he wasn't. He was Dalton Kenneth Alloco, and he mattered. He mattered to me, and he still, every waking moment, every sleeping moment, there's not a day in my life when he was alive or since he's gone that he's not right on the top of my mind. You know what I mean? And, you know, I just want people to know that, you know, you do everything, you do all you can do. You do everything you can do, but, you know, it's a fine line. It's a fine line between rock bottom and death. You know, they say you got to let them hit rock bottom before they can climb their way out, because only they can do it themselves. You can't do it for them. You can put the opportunities, you can help them, you can guide them, you can push them, you can finance it, but you can't make them do it. They have to want it for themselves. And so they say, you know, you guys, they say rock bottom is where they have to be in order to climb themselves back out. But there's a pencil line, a thinnest line you can imagine between rock bottom and death, you know. And my son came out on the other side of the line, but he's not suffering anymore, and he's at peace now. He's definitely at peace now, you know. I'm battling, but that's life. You know, who's not gonna miss their child? You know what I mean? Who's not gonna feel like this? You know, I guess I'm weak now, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I'm still here. I'm alive. I'm telling this story. You know, and everything I do to honor his memory. Everything. If it helps one person, if I can help one homeless kid on the street, or one homeless man or woman on the street, you know, or whatever, if I can help one kid on that school bus, or I can help wherever, whatever. If my writing a book can help one parent understand what their kid is going through, or one kid understand what my son was going through, it's all worth it. You know what I mean? Because money doesn't matter, material things doesn't matter, your car doesn't matter, your house doesn't matter. All that matters is love in your family. All that matters. And you know that. That's why you guys do what you do. But in this world, it's a screwed up place right now. People get those things. You got to have your priorities. And, like I don't have nothing. I don't have nothing in the bank. I don't have no money. I don't have no retirement. I don't have anything like that, but I'm rich. You know what I mean? I'm the richest guy I know. You know what I mean? I've had my children. I have a beautiful family. I lost a lot of them, but I had them. You know what I mean? And I'm smart enough to know that that's what it's all about. So that makes me a rich man. You know what I mean?
Roger, I want to correct you on one thing you just said. You are not weak. Any grieving parent, we are not weak. We're broken and shattered and everything, but my friend, you are not weak in any way. So it's easy to go down that road, but you already said it. If you were weak, you wouldn't be here for your daughters. You wouldn't be there you wouldn't be here for those homeless people that you're handing stuff out to. And you wouldn't be here for every single parent who's listening to you right now, connecting to your story because they lost their children to anything, but especially if they lost their children to a drug addiction. They don't think you're weak at all. So
well, you guys are an inspiration to so many people. And I'm in this group that you know of, fathers that lost their sons. And that group, it's just kind of like a private group. I know Patrick Lynch is in there,
yep.
And he's reached out to me. He just lives not far within driving, and we were going to get together, but it never happened for whatever reason. But what you guys do and what that group does, it saves lives. It saves lives because there is no conditions here. I'm allowed to feel anything I want without making you feel bad. You're allowed to feel anything you want. I'm allowed to say anything I want. You know what I mean? I'm allowed to say, well, you know what? I feel like just killing myself today. No, I'm not going to do it. It's just how I feel today. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is people like you, fathers like you, and the fathers in that group, they really get it. And it made me realize that I'm not alone. There's so many more of us. You know what I mean? And it's like, you feel alone. I can be in a room full of 1,000 people, which I don't even want to be around people. I don't even go in the store anymore. But it's like I could be in a room with 1,000 people and feel completely alone. You know what I mean? But there's something about this in that group. There's just something about every time somebody posts something or says something or is feeling down, or there's just something about it that just keeps you going, and it makes you feel for each other. You know, you forget about your own pain for a minute. You know what I mean? And you think about you. I think about you guys. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, I know exactly how he feels. You know what I mean? It's not wrong to feel that way, and it's not uncommon, and it's the norm is what it is.
Yep, exactly. And we always say it's the closest knit group of guys that you wish you never had met because of the situation. That's the worst part about it. So Roger, I want to say something to you. This isn't a question. This is just more my personal opinion on a situation. I felt some of the same things you did. Specifically, I get the sense that you feel like you blame yourself at the end, like you could have done more. And I had that feeling too when I lost my son. I really felt like I made some incorrect decisions that cost him his life. And it ate me up for a long, long time. It really did. But I just wanted you to know, just from me listening to your story the first time, you did everything you could for Dalton. You fought for him every day. You never gave up. You made the best decisions you could for him. And I wanted you to know that as a dad, that you did everything you could. And that's not going to take you taking the blame. You're still going to blame yourself, because I still did too. People told me the same thing. But I wanted you to know, brother, you did everything you could for Dalton. You never gave up on him. You loved him. You still love him. He's still your boy. He'll be your boy forever. And you did a great job as a dad.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Chris. I really appreciate that. Well, there was one more thing I wanted to say about our group, Fathers That Lost. I know I didn't even give you guys no time to talk here. I'm sorry. But I wanted to say about our group, Fathers That Lost Their Sons. I wish that, I know we're scattered all over the globe, but there's some that are within driving distance. And, I think that there should be an opportunity where something could be put together. I think me, for sure, I'd be willing to drive 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever it took, to get close to one of these fathers or a little group and have just to talk, you know what I mean? Just to sit down, maybe have a bite to eat, or just some fellowship there with the same people that I've come to love. Never met any of them, but I love every single one of them. You know what I mean? So I hope someday that this all could lead into that reality where at least maybe you guys in your area, a few guys in your area, if you guys got together in both your areas and in my area, together we're a group in separate places. We could have our little groups where it's possible and just kind of take it to the next level of, like, I wish right now, you guys I'd be hugging you guys, you know what I mean? And I would be squeezing you tight, you know what I mean? And I thank you for the opportunity, to hear my son's story. It means a lot to me, and I guess it helps me to get it out. Like I said, if it helps one person feel something good, and believe your sons they're in a great place. I've had such confirmation. We don't have time to get into all the confirmation, but I have had experience after experience after experience of confirmation. My son has sent me message after message after message, and I've been fortunate, and to the parent that misses the message or might not have perceived it as what it was or whatever, I'm here to tell you, our kids are doing better now than they ever could have done here on this earth that we live in. He's at peace. He's in the light. And he's happy, and he's carefree, and he's healthy. He's not sick anymore. And what more could we ask for? What more could we? Our selfish self, of course, wants him to walk through that door so we can physically see him. But I'm here to tell you, here I am giving advice when I'm a mess. But I'm here to tell you that they're there and they're good. And we will see them again. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But,
Perfect way. Yep, I agree.
I want to say, Roger, you've said it I don't know how many times. If you can help one person, and Chris and I have said this from our first episode, if nothing else, it helps me and it helps Chris, because it helps to talk about our story and just let it out. And I think every guest that we've had would agree that coming on just to talk has helped. And if I don't know what you felt through this hour, but we can hear it in your voice of obviously there's pain, and we wish we could tell you that was going to go away super quickly, but we can't. But we've heard your pain, but we also heard when you were telling your story, when you got to that point where you had told Dalton's story and you flipped it to your trip and the shark and the memories and the messages that he's sending and helping the homeless, we can hear the pride that you have for your boy. We can hear the joy that you have for the time you had with your boy, and we can hear you exhaling a whole lot of the hurt that's in your body. And again, we wish we could tell you that you were going to exhale it and it wasn't going to come back, but it's going to come back, and it's going to come back hard. But at least for these moments, you've gotten rid of some of that hurt. And I want you to hear clearly too that you're helping yourself. And in your life, there's nobody more important for you to help than yourself. Because if you can't help yourself, you're no good for anybody else either. And you've got your 2 beautiful daughters, and you've got all those other people in the streets, and with that book, and you gave everybody listening 2 other books that they can go read. There's a lot of people that you just helped. But most importantly, yeah, you're helping yourself. So keep talking about your boy Dalton Kenneth.
Yeah, every time I do, he rushes me. Listen, I know we're way over the limit and stuff, but before you sign off, I just want to take you in the living room and show you his shark and his memorial, okay?
I think Chris and I have been doing this long enough. I think we both were not going to let you get away with that.
Yeah, I want to see the shark.
Yeah. And for everybody, while Roger's moving, for everybody who's listening on our Anchor or any of the audio versions or the radio, come to the YouTube channel because you'll see the video here.
Do you see his memorial?
All right, hold on, Roger. We might have to get creative here. You just froze a little bit, so we're gonna give the. Okay, there you go.
I see it now. Okay.
Now it's good.
There we go. Looks good. I like it. And that's
his memorial.
Okay.
And this is the orb.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was gonna ask, if that was the orb. Okay. Yeah, that looks awesome.
Yeah.
And if anybody wants to get something like that, these people are so professional. That place is called Artful Ashes. And here's the shark.
I hope you got the widescreen iPad.
Holy, that thing is huge.
Can you see him?
You were not joking.
Angle it down just a little bit. Yeah, that's
there. We go. Wow. You pulled
that
thing in?
An hour and a half. On a 25-pound test line, you tell me that's not a miracle.
Yeah.
That is a miracle of its own right there. That is.
And there's the bobber that collapsed and that sways back and forth that day.
What a beautiful, beautiful tribute to your boy.
So that's it, you guys. That's all I got for you.
You are, you know what? You got 2 more brothers today, man. Dan and I are always here for you, whatever we can do to help out. You don't ever be afraid to reach out to us, and we'll talk to you at any time to make you feel better the best we can.
You know, that works both ways, and I love you guys, and I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate what you do for each and every one of us, and having the nerve to do what you do. And when you're in your own pain, you know, it's painful to listen to other people's stories. And, you know, but anyways, it's not for nothing. It's all so much appreciated by the fathers like me. And like I said, I love you guys, and God bless you. And I wish you the best, you know, and I look forward to the day I'm with my son again and my family. And same for you guys, because they're waiting. They're waiting. And in the meantime, we'll do what we can do for everybody else.
Yep.
And, you know, we'll get through it.
Great idea. Yep.
Thank you guys for having me as your guest and for everything you do.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Roger. Don't hang up yet, though. Just hold on while we close the show out real quick, okay?
Okay.
Dan, any last messages?
No, Roger, thank you. It's been a beautiful hour. Thank you.
You're welcome,
Definitely.
Dan.
Roger, thank you again so much. Again, for anybody listening or watching, hey, we're here to help any way we can. If you want to come on and tell your story, we'd love to give you that opportunity to talk about your child or anybody that you've lost grief-wise. That's anything we can do to help out. And, Roger brought up a good point about, when stuff like this happens, it's easy to feel like you want it to just all end. You wanna commit suicide. You don't want to be here on the earth anymore. And I think that's all run through our mind at least once when you lose your child. And we want to help to try to prevent that. Of course, if you are feeling like that, go to the hospital, tell a doctor. There's a new 988 phone number. It's just like 911, except you dial 988. You're gonna talk to a counselor. They're gonna get you help. Whatever you can do to get help so that you don't commit suicide, because you're important on this world to so many other people. We want to make sure that the pain stops any way it can. But with that, though, if you need to get a hold of Dan or myself, you can always reach out to Dan at info@jamesonsjoy.org or myself at chris@milesformasonmemorial.com. And we'll do whatever we can. Otherwise, we're on social media as well. And thank you again, Roger, for coming on again. It's great to hear about your son, Dalton. And with that, we're going to close up another episode of
I'd like
A
to say one
Father's
more
Love,
thing.
Healing with Her. Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
And I said, and hesitating to call you guys or reach out. Gotta just do it because it means really means and be able to hear it. Really, really.
And Roger,
All right, thank you very much.
We lost your internet a little bit there. I think I heard you just telling everybody to reach out if needed, but try again if you could.
Yeah, I'm just encouraging anybody that wants to, that might be shy, hesitant, or I'm encouraging them to reach out to you guys because it helps. It helps to tell your story. It helps to have somebody listen, and it helps to get it out. So that's just, I'm encouraging people to do that. And what is your son's foundation? What is a foundation? Could you tell me that, Chris?
Yeah, my foundation is for my son Mason. It's the Miles for Mason Memorial Foundation, and it's to raise awareness of the autoimmune disease that took his life, ADEM, acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. And so we're raising funds to help train doctors to find it early and also try to find a cure for it one day. And Dan also has his own organization, Jameson's Joy. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and with Jameson's Joy in honor of my son Jameson, we're just trying to just inspire kindness. We're working with trying to help people through their grief and their mental health, and trying to help parents get connected with their kids and take advantage of the time we have. Both of us are on Facebook with Miles for Mason and Jameson's Joy. You can check out our websites, Miles for Mason. Chris, do it because I know there's some.
Yep. milesformasonmemorial.com.
Okay. And jamesonsjoy.org. And yeah, please, anybody listening, reach out. And if you're a father who's in a situation where a child is struggling with addiction and you want to talk to Roger, reach out to Chris and I. It would be an honor to connect you all so that you can talk more specifically about that road.
I'm totally open to that.
Yeah.
And if you guys could send me the links to your pages, it would help me. Okay?
Will do. We'll definitely do that.
We will for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. God bless you guys. You have a great day.
Thanks, Roger. And we'll see everybody next time on the next episode of A Father's Love, Healing Through Heartache.